here of Standard at GP Copenhagen. Hello, my friends. Welcome to continued coverage of GP Copenhagen. You're in the booth with me, Riley Knight. Joining me, Simon Goetson, the Pro Tour champion. And we are underway with round number 7 here. Matty Quizma and Ivan Floch. These guys at 5-1. It's a bit of win-and-in magic here, Simon, as the winner of this match, or this match, will make their way into day number 2.
Yep, and we actually see a classical matchup here. Black-red with Bomber Couriers against Blue-White Control.
Yes, this is very much the match of the tournament, I would say. We've had a fair bit of White-Blue in the feature match area. Been taking it easy on the old Goblin Chain Whirler. He's had enough of the spotlight shone on him in recent weeks. So, but the deck has still been performing pretty well. And as a result, I'm sure as we tighten things up for day number 2, we'll see more Goblin Chain Whirlers around. Now, this is coming to you on a very slight delay. The players were ready to go a little earlier than we anticipated. So this one, I mean, we're commentating live, but this has happened a couple of minutes earlier. There's not really any reason that this is going to be relevant, but we will be able to catch up probably for game 2 between sideboarding. But if there's any funny business, we aren't unfortunately going to be able to intervene because, of course, we're on about 2-3 minute delay right now. Search for Ascanda, the play here for Ivan Floch, and Matty Quizma just opening up a bit slow with a Bowman Courier.
Powerful start here by Ivan with his turn 2 search for Ascanda. I really don't love Matty's start here. Look at that, just a lightning strike to the face. That's not how you want to start against control.
Obviously not a great a hand that's not particularly well set up against the control decks of the format here, Simon, which, we've seen people not pre-board against certain archetypes, but definitely know which ones are in the crosshairs between the main and the sideboard configurations. Here's Chandra Torch Defiance. Looks like it's going to resolve too.
Yeah, this is huge. Ivan apparently didn't have a 2-mana way of dealing with Chandra here. He might have been holding Disallow, but his land came into play tapped, so that was not an option.
Seal away on the Bomat Courier now, meaning those 3 cards are gone for good. Exiled face down. No one gets to look at them. And we'll see what's up next here. Floch under a bit of pressure with this Chandra, and as a result, we'll see it cast out. Take care of the Planeswalker. Got to answer the Planeswalkers.
Yeah, but you can kind of expect Matty to have more 4-drops because he didn't do anything else in the previous turns, and we actually do see a Chandra here.
Another Planeswalker here for Floch to deal with. And a Canyon Slayer as well. Nice turn for Matty Quizma, who continues to apply pressure, and his threats are lining up pretty well so far.
Oh yeah, actually, beautifully. There, Ivan is lacking a land number 5 to cast Teferi, and doesn't have any other answers to Chandra here.
Let's see what's on top of the library. Scrap Heap Scrounge is going to get cast, and as I said, just lining up magnificently Quizma's threats here, because and Hazard the Fervent as well here. Now, Ivan Floch does have the answers to these cards. What I was going to say is the threats that Quizma was playing is very good against Settle the Wreckage and Seal Away. These latest 2 threats, however, not so much. Now we see an Essence Scatter taking care of Hazard. Back to Floch now as we put the Search for Scanner trigger on the stack.
Floch had a lot of options of how to deal with Hazard. Actually, most of the cards in his hand would have dealt with Hazard. I think what he really wanted was to get that Essence Scatter in the graveyard as soon as possible, because it is one way of getting that 5th land is to just flip Search for Ascanda.
Finds a Plains, so 5 lands now, and here is Teferi, the hero of Dominaria. This is a nice one as well, and one of the reasons that Teferi has been so important in Standard is because of the huge number of 2-mana answers, both counter spells and removal spells. Seal Away is the sort of the secret reason that Teferi, the hero of Dominaria, is so powerful.
Yes, and we will actually see Ivan most likely just seal away that Scrounger. That Chandra is doing magnificent work as well, though.
Effectively 2 cards a turn here for Quizma, as we see Pianalar bring along a little Thopterino.
And a sacrifice outlet for the Scrounger.
Oh, that's important. Very important as well, in addition to pressuring Floch with just actual bodies on the battlefield, yes, that's right. That means the Scrap Heap Scrounger is not as vulnerable to something like a Seal Away or a Cast Out.
Maddie has a pretty interesting choice here. He can attack Ivan, he can attack Teferi, and he can invest 2 mana to pump the Scrounger, but then he doesn't have the mana to reanimate it if he sacrifices it to P up.
Oh no, this is going to go very badly here. Matty Quizma, he's being punished for... Well, I mean, maybe he would just have gone for it anyway, but that's rough because he could have guaranteed that Scrounger did not get sealed away had he not gone for that rather greedy attack on the Teferi there.
I completely disagree with the decision to pump twice there. I think that was super greedy. And Ivan, of course, punishing Maddie here.
Teferi goes downstairs and tucks away the Chandra. And Flock is looking to turn the corner here with a handful of removal. We've got Settle the Wreckage coming up to protect his Teferi on 2 loyalty, and things looking good for Flock. See if Quizma has anything to say about it, though. Not too much to say in the face of a... I mean, he can attack and he'll get settled, and that'll be that.
He can attack with maybe only the Thopter token or only the Pia to mitigate the Settle the Wreckage a little bit, but I think last turn's Seal Away really turned this game around.
Let's see what Quizma's next move is. Certainly taking his time in making it here, Simon. I mean, we're not 100% sure of the contents of his hand, but this doesn't seem to be too complicated a decision.
One card is a mountain. The question is if he has another haste creature available to him. What he's debating now is whether he plays around Settle the Wreckage. 2 of them in the graveyard.
Well, get a wriggle on, old son. We've got places to be. Things to see. Let's go. What's the play? They're still keeping that second card hidden from us as well. Plays the mountain. And once again, just oscillating on the curb here as to whether this attack's going to come in. And ultimately, it's just going to be... No, okay, spoke too soon.
Seems really unsure about how to proceed here. Maybe a bit rattled by last turn's events.
Yeah, well, the PNLR ultimately joined by the Thopter token, and we're going to see Settle the Wreckage get rid of both of these creatures. So after a whole lot of shaken, there wasn't too much going on by the end of it. It's going to get 2 mountains out of the deck, says Quizma. And he ships back to Flock now. Bins a land from the search for Azcanta. Teferi goes upstairs, or Personal Howling Mine going on, and another Settle the Wreckage in hand. So Flock's drawn all 4, and that's a pretty good strategy when you're beating up on red-black. Yeah,
actually 2 of them were put into the graveyard by search for Azcanta, but Quizma cannot reasonably expect the 4th one.
Heart of Kieran. But this is what separates the good players from great players, right? Being able to draw 4 copies of a key card to match up. the only differential there.
Yeah.
It's an obvious joke, by the way. I want to make that very clear. I'm not throwing any shade at even Flock. He's one of the greatest. Here is activation of Azcanta the Sunken Ruin.
Especially when it comes to playing blue-white control decks.
Oh, yeah. Got to find those cards. And we're going to see now the Azcanta get untapped. And this is one of the ways that the white-blue control deck further imprints its dominance and mastery.
We've seen this over and over again. If blue-white control stabilizes on double-digit life total in game 1 against... and it doesn't really matter if it's mono-red, if it's black-red, aggro or mid-range, or whatever the version is, this just gets out of control too quickly. Of course, it doesn't immediately win the game, because you are not playing that many win conditions after all, but you're definitely not losing this game from this point on.
I mean, what are the percentages we're talking about here, Simon?
No, it's 0. Like, I honestly think that there is just no way for a red-black deck to come back from this kind of board position.
Soulscar manages to play now for Quizma. Doesn't even crew the heart, so can't get in for any extra damage. Not that it would matter with Flock. But all the answers. We saw him win a Pro Tour with a deck that was a little bit like this as well.
So just to clarify, you have the draw step, you have an additional draw by Teferi, you have a non-creature spell with Ascanta, and if you untap Ascanta, you get another non-creature spell.
So up to 4 cards a turn.
Yeah, and 2 of those are chosen from the top 4. So yeah, you're kind of looking at 10 cards each turn.
Yeah. Yep.
That's just
It's
difficult to beat.
kind of disgusting, yeah. When that constitutes what? 25-30% of the deck right now?
And then Maddie is holding cards like Unlicensed Disintegration, so that is just not going to do it.
Not going to do the job for Matty Quizma, who goes down 1-0 in the first game of our first match of round 7 here, of course, at GP Copenhagen. Ivan Flock having picked up a loss early on, as indeed did Matty Quizma. These guys looking to win just one more to push them over into day number 2. That's what it is right now. Win and in Magic here in Copenhagen. We've talked about the role of sideboards, and we've identified 2 very important cards post-board. Games number 2 and 3 tend to be decided with cards like Negate and cards like Duress. I imagine Quizma is packing copies of Duress. What else is he going to be bringing in this match here, Simon?
So apart from 3 Duresses, he has 2 Doomfalls. He brings in more Planeswalkers, and even a Rekindling Phoenix. So we might see him on, let me count, 4 Chandras, 3 Hazards, and 3 Rekindling Phoenix after sideboarding. Now this is assuming that he brings all of these expensive cards in, but as we know, he does have removal spells to take out that he doesn't want to draw at all.
Let's talk about the role of Negate post-board as well, because you would think, oh, Red-Black Chain Whirler, nice aggressive deck, full of creatures, what have you, but I would still be bringing in copies of Negate post-board, Simon.
And that would be absolutely correct, Riley.
Oh! Magic! So easy.
In fact, Ivan is already playing 1 Negate in the main deck.
Yeah, I think that's also a great pick. I mean, let's just make a brief list of all the non-creature threats you've got to deal with in games 1, right? What have you
Goblin
got?
Chain Roller. Oh, sorry.
Okay, let's try again. There's Champion... No, okay. What have we got? No, in all seriousness.
Heart of Kiran.
Heart of Kiran. Chandra, Torch of Defiance. We've got Teferi.
Karn.
Khan.
Sometimes Vraska. Every Planeswalker.
But then let's think about the interaction that's in the standard format as well. When you've got big, clunky 4-drop removal spells like Vraska's Contempt, which is not dead against control.
Cast out. All the answers to your Teferi.
Yeah. So playing a Negate, even when you don't have to protect creatures from removal, is a fantastic pick. And I've seen decks go as high as 2 copies in the main deck. And I mean, I'm 100% behind it. Negate is one of my favorite cards of all time. I will play it as much as I can.
How high are you on Unwind?
See, Unwind, it's just that 3rd extra mana is, you can't deploy, you can't get rid of a cast out. Nope, that's not the card I'm looking for. Heart of Kiran.
On curve, Heart of Kiran.
On code, Heart of Kiran.
And that makes the difference, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise it would be super sweet to even untap your lands.
Untap it.
Cast
Search for Scanter again.
Cast a Glimmer of Genius.
Yeah.
Search for Scanter again.
Yeah, untap the Sunken Ruin the 3rd time.
Untap your tapped Memorial to Genius.
Oh, mate, draw the card straight away. Easy game. Easy game. But no, I think its cost is just a little bit too high. The card's great, and it's got a very unique effect, and we've seen traditionally, quote-unquote, free counterspells. Rewind was played a couple of years ago in Standard. But, yeah, I don't know. Should we be playing Unwind?
No, probably not, because of Heart of Kiran. But maybe after rotation, it might actually be a Negate substitute or a Negate alternative. I would keep my eyes up for that. But back to this matchup, what we should look out for in Game 2, maybe Game 3, is that Ivan has access to Lyra Dawnbringer after sideboarding. Matti Charisma does not have access to Fight with Fire. So that access he's not really fighting on. But if he takes out all the unlicensed disintegrations, then it might be difficult for him to deal with the Lifelinking Angel.
Looks we got a judge involved in sideboarding here. Is it shuffling? Maybe Ivan Flock. Is Ivan Flock not able to shuffle? Has he done the old Yoel Larson broken his collarbone fighting a bear? I'm not sure what Yoel Larson's excuse for having a broken arm was. I doubt it was the truth. Can we reveal the scandalous truth to Yoel's broken collarbone?
I don't think we can.
I don't think we can. We're being told the producer, our esteemed producer, Stephen Leeming, has revealed. Apparently, he's saying that it's been revealed on stream. I think that was.
But we don't know if it wasn't the truth.
I don't think.
Like
it was, I don't think
the
it was
honest
truth. No,
truth.
the honest truth. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I'll talk to Yol about it tonight. We're staying in the same hotel, Simon, and I'll talk to Yol about it tonight, see if I can coax him into an in-principle agreement. So the story you were told this morning, for those of you who may have missed it, Rich Hagen on stream, has said that the real reason that Joel Larson broke his collarbone was wrestling with Martin Muller.
Not a bear.
Not a bear, as has been previously reported. Now, I don't want to get into like difficult legal ground here, but I mean, that's not the only story I've heard. Is all I'll say, Simon. I'm not going to perjure myself here. That's not the only reason for the broken collarbone that I've heard. Martin Muller, spry young chap like him, I wouldn't want to wrestle him. Do you know who I did try to wrestle one time? Have I told you this story?
Ralph Levy?
Yeah.
How did it end up?
It did not end up well for me, Simon.
Well, he's like a jiu-jitsu
brown belt.
World champion.
Yeah, he was the French national champion of jiu-jitsu, and we were sharing a hotel room, and he was asleep, and I thought, you know what?
That's your chance.
That's my chance. I've got him. I've bloody got him. He's flat-footed, right? I've got advantage on my attack rolls, and so I'm like, no worries. I go out with the doona with the blanket, and I try to like pin him, right? Because I'm bigger than him.
Mm-hmm.
I got the weight advantage at least.
He's like feather.
He's pretty light, and he's probably like 170 centimeters, like 5'8". Anyway, I get the blanket, and I jump up like Batman, right? And I'm going to try to jump on top of him and pin him under the doona, right?
Did you shout, or did you just do it quietly?
Like
ninja-esque, or
no, it wasn't silent. It wasn't perfectly stealthy,
silent.
but there wasn't like a war cry. Anyway, I jump on the bed, pin him under the doona, and within 3 seconds, my face is being mashed into the mattress. He's got one arm on the back of my neck and the other one pulling my arm into a half nail. So he could have snapped my arm like a twig, and I have no idea how it happened. And I asked him about it, and it's muscle memory. Like it's just training.
And also, he doesn't really sleep.
Yeah, that's also true.
So it's just more like a half state.
It's just this sort of like state of, he's like an elf in D&D. Like he meditates,
except
semi-conscious.
Like a warrior elf.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like a monk elf. Yeah, that's what's going on with Rev Levy. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to tell you how to run your business. I'm not someone who is particularly big on giving life advice to unsolicited bystanders or whatever else. I will offer you one piece of advice that has served me very well, and that is do not attack Raphael Levy, whether he is sleeping or not. Generally, I think do not attack people who are trained. Just, you know what? Don't attack people.
Yeah, especially not Raph
But
Levy.
especially, if you are going to attack someone, if you drop a list of people you're not going to attack, put Raphael Levy.
No, attack me instead.
Attack Simon
it's
Goetz
much
instead.
safer.
much safer option. Search for Ascanda now coming down. We can move away from the strategy of IRL and focus near on the strategy of the popular trading card game Magic: The Gathering. As Quizma again has a slower start, and that's not what you want out of the black red deck here.
No, I think he took at least one mulligan and is now stuck on lands, and that could actually mean that Ivan is able to pull ahead here very, very quickly.
So let's have a look now. As the tempo play with the blink of an eye, draw a card.
Oh, remount impression.
Yeah, that's true.
How about a Lyra? When your opponent has 2 lands on the battlefield?
2 lands. Seems pretty good. So Flock really, I mean, this one was over before it begun. Quizma obviously keeping a hand that didn't quite work out for him. And, full credit to him. Obviously, he's done his best. He's kept the best hand that he could find. Karizev comes down again in the face of a Lyra Dawnbringer, however. It's not going to be too useful. Search for Azkanda continues to give Ivan Flock the cards that he needs. Easy game, easy life for the Pro Tour champion.
I don't want to call it a top deck, but Maddie did draw an unlicensed disintegration, so he does have tools after sideboarding to deal with Lyra. They just might not matter here.
Quizma does have, a turn here? I mean, he has to answer that Lyra straight away.
If you got a glimpse of Ivan's hand, I don't even think he has a turn.
Another Lyra Dawnbringer, making both 6/6s? No, it's a Teferi instead.
That's a good combo.
Really?
If you have 3, they're all 7/7.
This is the thing. I'm surprised people tend to only play their Lyras one at a time. It's like whenever you're playing with Thalia, often people will wait for you to kill the first Thalia before they play their second. It's like, well, just play 2, make their spells cost 2 more. This is why we've got the job that we have. High-level experts of the game. Here's Karizev, though, getting in for 3. Ragavan the Monkey along for the ride as well. Did Quizma find the land?
Yes, he did.
All right, okay. Now we've got a game in our hands here because Lyra Dawnbringer is going to go down to that unlicensed disintegration.
Nope. I don't think so. That Teferi untapping lands. It's just not fair.
So, Quizma ships. This disintegration could change things here, but it's going to be difficult. I mean, don't you just snap it off straight away? There's not going to be a better opportunity, right? Your opponent's going to draw 2 more cards. Okay, here we go. This is the moment.
The problem was even had counter mana up, so waiting till the upkeep is actually correct here. But ultimately, these negates we talked about
Really,
excessively are just great.
Really good here. So now, Flock going to draw some more cards off of his Teferi. And this has just been, well, a bit of a rout, really. Flock has never really looked to be in too much trouble. In fairness to Quizma, had an awkward draw, an awkward opening hand after a mulligan. And looks like the Chainwheeler deck may be going down in flames here.
And this is kind of the discussion of having quite a bad game 1 matchup and then shoring that up with those Duresses and Doomfalls and whatnot and more Planeswalkers. It just doesn't always work out the way you want to, and so the deck that wins game 1 is still heavily favored in most matches. Actually, we did see the untapped Memorial to play and untapped Memorial to Genius.
So we were talking about that high level play just before.
That's my favorite thing to do with Teferi. It's a tiny thing, but it's
sweet. It's super sweet.
It also when you have the luxury of doing these kind of things, then you're probably winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if that's sort of like, that's my plan for the turn. Untapping and activating a Memorial to Genius the turn you play it, yeah, you're probably a long way ahead. Here's a Doomfall now for Matty Quizma, and we're going to see in response a Torrential Gearhulk. I love this. I love players aggressively countering hand disruption spells. I think it should happen more often. It doesn't happen enough.
No, and adding another 5-power creature to the battlefield certainly helps.
Also a nice play. Also, yeah. I mean, the cake is more icing than cake at this point.
Yeah, this beatdown is relentless by Ivan Flock. Lyra being unopposed.
Yeah, it's just huge stuff here from Flock. He's really just, again, he's been so far out ahead from the beginning, and I mean, he's taking his time in winning it. Certainly doesn't seem to be in a huge rush. Have we seen Lyra only get in once?
Lyra stayed back last turn to protect Teferi a little bit more.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Because of the menace on Karizev, I assume.
All right, okay. Here's a Glimmer of Genius now. Yeah, I guess it opens up the opportunity for free attacks on the Teferi.
But for example, this turn, I wouldn't be surprised to just see an attack for 10.
Just get in there. Just get in there, mate. And a Gideon's Reproach as well off the top. This is an interesting new piece of technology in these blue-white decks. And this means attack, an all-out attack now. Yeah. Good stuff here. We're going to see Karizev jump in the way of the Torrential Gearhulk. Lyra gets across unopposed. Flock up to 30. Quizma to 10.
Did you know that when you don't have tapped lands, when Teferi's ability resolves, that you have to untap your opponent's lands?
I see. That isn't how the rule reads. I mean, you can't untap lands.
That's it.
Well, one thing you can't also do is win against a white-blue control deck when they're on 30 life, and Matty Quizma recognizes that the writing is on the wall, and he packs them up. A gracious in defeat, you have to say. Small smile on the face of Ivan Flock, and he will be very happy to move to 6-1. And, of course, today, number 2, we are playing Win and In Magic this round, my friends. And with a 6-1 record, he is guaranteed a spot in our second day here in Copenhagen. But of course, it can go better from here if he wins out and secures a nice X1 record.
6-1 for a pro like Ivan, who comes here with buys, of course, is kind of the spot where you're not disappointed, but you're also not super happy.
I guess, yeah, coming in with 3 wins, it's actually his games so far have been 3-1, right?
Exactly, and for him, 3-1 at a GP at the GP level. That's probably his expectation, if not more.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to see how fortune favours our heroes down in the feature match area. But right now, we've got to go to a break. Stick around, everybody, because on the other side of this, we've got more Standard coming your way from Copenhagen.
Spell slinging is a great way to meet players that I wouldn't normally get to meet.
Spell slinging is a great way for viewers and fans to meet Magic personalities and pros. It's kind of the best thing ever, actually.
What's up, nerds? Welcome back to the feature match area for more Time Walk Magic from GP Copenhagen. My name's Riley, joined by, well, the biggest nerd of them all. Here he is, Simon Gertzen. He won a Pro Tour, and now, my friends, he's here to bring you all the expert analysis we need for this Time Walk match. You've had a look over the deck lists here, Simon, and maybe you can shine a bit of a light as to what we're about to see.
Guillaume Wafotapa, Hall of Famer, control player.
Does what he wants.
He's bringing Esper control to the battlefield. 6 card draw spells. I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Usama Sajjad, recent Team GP winner.
Yep.
He's bringing the blue-black mid-range deck that we saw Kevin Jones play. Or, no, I think it's a very similar list to what Kevin Jones brought to the Pro Tour.
And immediately we can see this deck is looking to get on the board early. Not only Kitesail Freebooter, but also a copy of Gifted Aetherborn in hand for Sajjad. And you said before, Guillaume Wafotapa, he's a maniac, he's a madman, and he does what he wants. And the Hall of Famer just always finds a way to play blue card draw spells, usually paired with black or white or both. And no matter the format, no matter the situation, he will play control.
Exactly. If you are playing against him, you can kind of expect what you're going to face. You know that Kitesail Freebooter will definitely find a target. And if Esper Charm was legal, he would have 4 Esper Charms in his deck as well. This time around, only 4 Glimmer of Genius and 2 Hieroglyphic Illuminations. But to be fair, once your opponents miss a beat, and you are allowed to resolve that Glimmer of Genius on turn 4 or 5, it does feel insanely powerful to ramp towards these 5 and 6 mana Planeswalkers and Gearhulks.
It's funny because you look at a card like Glimmer of Genius and go, well, this is very bad. Costs 4, doesn't affect the board, energy not particularly useful in these matches, but often we will see if a blue control deck can chain some removal spells through turns 2 and 3. Turn 4, they either answer the Hazoret, they answer the Chandra, they answer the Phoenix, or whatever the big 4-drop threat is, or if that's not forthcoming, they play their Glimmer, and that weirdly is where they kind of shift up a gear, Simon.
Yes, and something I like to explain to newer players is that because we start with 7 cards in hand, if we're lucky, in Magic, you kind of naturally run out of resources if you just continue to play lands and spells. So turn 6, 7 is the natural end of that curve. But as a control player, you want to have more fuel for much longer. You want to cast your 6-drop on turn 6 and maybe spend 7 mana on turn 7. Much different from an aggro deck. And this is why these effects, as weak as they seem at first, that allow you to draw 2 cards for the price of 1, are so crucial for control decks. If Glimmer of Genius wasn't legal, Guillaume would be playing Divinations.
Yes. He would be playing any number, whichever card is going to draw him 2 cards at instant speed, whether it's Think Twice in Modern or it's Glimmer of Genius in Standard, he will find a way to make it happen, and we're seeing that right here and right now. Gifted Aetherborn. How worried is Wafo Tapper with this start? I mean, we've had some disruption with Kitesail Freebooter, but the 2-3s, it's a bit of a clunker here.
The 2-3 is really not scary on turn 4. That could have been much worse. On the other hand, Guillaume knows that Usama will have a lot of dead cards in game 1, which is one of the real benefits of playing control. You know there will be fatal pushes, there will be creatures like the Gifted Aetherborn that are just not relevant.
Sajad cycles away a Fetid Pools here. Back to him now for his next turn. Wafo Tapper playing white, as we talked about obviously in the Esper colours. Not a huge list of cards that the white splashes for, however. No,
what Guillaume decided to do here is actually interesting. He doesn't play the Scarab God, but is going with 3 Teferis and 4 Gearhulks instead. So a very clean list. Doesn't even bother with the Scarab God, but just wants to win with the raw power of the, let's say, more spell-like effects.
And I think that looking at a card like Torrential Gearhulk, a card who's sort of fallen off a little bit with the ascendancy of white-based control, or blue-white control decks anyway. Torrential Gearhulk's are terrible in a deck with Cast Out and Seal Away, but in the black decks, it's much, much better.
Yes, and when you're playing that many instant spells already, of course, not having to tap out for one of your best threats is a huge bonus. I'm actually a bit concerned here for Usama, who cycled away one of his lands, and now he's lacking land number 5 for his Scarab God.
It seems a little weird to have done that. I mean, it wouldn't have helped him cast it last turn, but this turn could have started deploying 5 drops.
No, he actually could have cast it on turn 4. He could have just played it on turn 4, but I think he got a little bit greedy, knowing that he was already holding dead cards, that the Aetherborn wasn't so great. But now he's not really putting that much pressure on Wafo Tapper.
I mean, we've gone from useless 2-mana 2-3s now to even more useless 4-mana 2-2s. And Vraska's Contempt gets rid of the Kitesail Freebooter. Now, Fatal Push is going to be a nice clean answer to Gifted Aetherborn, and a Glimmer of Genius returned to the hands of Guillaume Wafo Tapper.
And this is where Wafo Tapper wants to be. 6 lands, untapped, Search for a Skanta in play, soon about to flip, and Torrential Gearhulk at the ready.
In come the Clowns once again, and Wafo Tapper happy to take the hit here. Now, a lot of people would flash in something like a Torrential Gearhulk in this situation to block and get value, but Wafo Tapper, he's going to use his life total as a resource. We see this, the best players do this sort of thing very readily.
You see Wafo Tapper play extremely patiently.
Yeah.
Actually, he was holding Vraska's Contempt for a very long time, but of course realized that he didn't need to use it on something like Gifted Aetherborn. Once Sajad played Glintsleeve Siphoner, Guillaume was at the ready with his removal.
My question here, Simon, is does Sajad still attack with the Gifted Aetherborn?
I think he does, yes. This is not a race. If you're not dealing damage anymore, you're losing. So yes, you're definitely taking that exchange.
So Wafo Tapa is happy enough to take 2 here, as we see Glimmer of Genius the play now for the French Hall of Famer. Scries 2 cards to the bottom of Field of Ruin. I didn't see the other card disallow off the top, though. That's a nice one here for Wafo Tapa. Shoring up those defenses in Vraska's Contempt, and you would have to say that Wafo Tapa might have this one more or less locked up.
Search for Iskandar is flipping, so Expedition successful.
Yep. And a Teferi off the top here for Wafo Tapa, so it's all going very, very well indeed here.
Yeah, I respect the resiliency of some players. I also understand that there is some value to not conceding certain games, but whenever this combination of Iskandar and Teferi comes down, it always feels like an uphill battle.
So, Sajad now. Difficult time for him to navigate, although we do have... I just can't find that 5th land. He has a couple of powerful 5-drops in hand, but just nowhere to cast them right now.
Exactly. So if he top decks a land here, then we might have a game. Is it Fetid Pools?
It is another Fetid Pools. Yeah. Classic salty draw there for Usama Sajad. Going to have to fight through this as he cannot exploit this brief sort of weakness of Wafo Tapa here.
And as you can see, Wafo Tapa doesn't even bother with racing here. His Gearhulk is just there to hold off attackers. And something that Wafo Tapa understands quite well is that he needs to deal with every permanent on the other side of the board. And playing blue-black control, okay, you have Teferis, but ultimately it's not it's an unforgiving deck. You cannot let something resolve and then deal with it later because it might just be too late.
Yeah.
So always being cognizant of what's going on and which threats your opponents could resolve at any given moment is actually the key recipe for success.
So we have now Fatal Push, as mentioned, taking care of that gifted Aetherborn, and that is after, of course, the Teferi untapped the Sunken Ruin as counter, continuing to provide value for Wafo Tapa.
Yeah, I expect Liliana to get countered here, and then Guillaume just barely doesn't have the mana to also activate Iskandar. He could get greedy here and just activate Iskandar in response, maybe find a negate or syncopate, but when you're that far ahead, I really don't see a reason.
So here's Disallow. And that is a nice clean answer to the Liliana, of course. And that's enough there for Usama Sajad. To wrap things up once again, we are going to skip ahead, ladies and gentlemen, however, here to game number 3. And we're going to see it live, I understand, as well, because these players haven't yet finished. Simon, unsurprising to hear that a control deck is a bit of a slower match here, but it looks like Usama Sajad was able to win game number 2. And so now, sideboarding in process, we are going to check in and see how things go. And this, again, we were on Time Walk Magic before. This is not Time Walk Magic. We can get rid of that label. Don't need it. Don't want it. Live Magic coming your way.
Very, very confusing sometimes to jump between time zones and reality and recorded.
Yeah, and with the format dominated by Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, we're really getting into the spirit of things here at the coverage team.
I wanted to ask you about that. Mm-hmm. His -3 ability has some lore background,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
What is he doing?
He's putting an object back in time.
To fix it?
No, I don't know what his intentions are with it, but as in he'll put it back to where it used to be, 3 cards down the library, and then the thing. I guess he's moving it forward in time, actually.
Interesting.
Because it comes down, then it appears again later.
True.
So these players are going to head towards game number 3. I hope that answers your flavor question, Simon.
I'll have to do some more research. I haven't gotten through the full history of Dominaria yet.
Yes, well, I mean, the story is available to read. mtgstory.com. You can read Martha Wells', I think it's 12-episode story about what was going on in Dominaria, and I personally found it very interesting to read. I know that the story was met with Well, it certainly had its critics, which is unsurprising given that it's very difficult to cover convincingly 12, 13 years of collected lore that happened on Dominaria previously.
It's also very difficult to not have critics on the internet.
That's also very true, especially when those critics also play Magic. But I certainly found it great. I found it fantastic. Having said that, I'm not an entrenched older player who was around for the days of Dominaria in the older sets.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck in the Brothers War.
Oh yeah,
on my lore update. So
still working through that one, huh? Yeah. But if you haven't read it, it certainly is. Certainly makes for some interesting reading. Get to know the cards that we're playing with a little bit better, and for all the Vorthos diehards, I guess it is. You've just got to keep in mind it's just hard to come back to a plane that is so well known, so beloved, and has been interpreted so many times by so many different people, and pointing out internal inconsistencies within a narrative is I don't know. It's not driving it too much for me, but I enjoyed it. I don't know if you saw, Simon, but recently they announced actually who would be joining or collaborating with the creative team at Wizards to write the story for the upcoming core set.
I did read that, yes.
Oh, you did? You saw that on Twitter? Or you saw that on Reddit, perhaps?
On Reddit, yes.
Yeah, that was, it's a nice surprise for many. Kate Elliott will be joining, I guess collaborating again with the R&D or with the creative team at Wizards. Author of books such as Court of Fives, Poison Blade, Buried Heart. So this is a very well-known science fiction fantasy author, and I'm very, very interested to see what she came up with. I was catching up with some of the people from WotC about what's coming from a flavour perspective in M19, and usually the core set is a bit of time off, I guess, for the hardcore storytelling, but it's going to be a bit different this time around.
All right, we're off to the races here. Both players took a mulligan, but I don't know, 4 minutes just does seem a bit ambitious for either player to finish this match.
And this is actually including their extra time as well after a 25-minute grind fest for game number 2. So that means that the smart money is on this one ending up as a draw.
Wafotapa is no Shota Yasuoka. That much is for sure.
Oh jeez, Shota Yasuoka playing at the speed of light. What an incredible magician he is. Sajad has a Glint Sleeve Siphoner. If there's anyone who can win it in this short amount of time, it's definitely Sajad.
That's what I think as well. And actually, his start is very well set up to win a quick game. And Wafo is missing black mana.
Oh no.
Okay.
That's tricky.
Yeah, we might have a race against the clock here. 2 damage a turn.
And black card's in hand there for Wafotapa, unable to play. Yes, wow, he's drawn. You'd think based on what he's drawn, he's just playing straight blue-white. White-blue, I should say.
No follow-up for Sajad, though. He's taking a turn off to draw extra cards with the Bloodfast. He pointed to the Siphoner, but he meant the Bloodfast.
That Siphoner not going to draw many cards just yet. Card sell freebooter off the top. Another card for this one for the turn, sorry, excuse me. That Champion of Wits also came off the Bloodfast. And Sajad gets in for 2 energy off the Siphoner. So he's up on cards, ahead in the race when it comes to life, but 2.5 minutes is not enough time to finish this game of Magic.
And Sajad is rushing himself. He's actually missing some of the triggers here.
Oh, he didn't get the energy?
Yeah, at least once, maybe even 2 times.
Oh, no.
I think he only got it once from the Siphoner, and he should have had 2 after the last attack already.
Oh, no. Syncopate now. Syncopate for 3. So Sajad can pay, should he choose to, or he can continue to develop his board. It looks like the Glint Sleeve Siphoner, however, is going to fight another day. Let's see what Wafotapa is working with. Double Duress, Argyl's Bloodfast, Scarab God, that's coming out of the board.
That's one of the worst possible hands you can have when you're stuck on blue and white sources. You cannot even deploy your cards effectively, and they cost so little. So if you draw a black source, that Duress effectively costs 5.
If I was Sajad as well, I would not be fiddly fighting around writing down these cards. I'd be getting it done.
I don't understand
Let's go.
The lack of speed
Yeah.
of Usama here.
Wafotapa generously keeping his cards on the battlefield face up, which is very, very sporting of him indeed. So double duress still in hand here, and Sajad really needs to pick up the pace, but I can't see this one ending in any other fashion. Sajad has sieged his own life total a little bit, down to 14 thanks to the Argos Bloodfast. And now, he's taking a quick note. Maybe writing down what he wants to have for lunch so he doesn't forget. Oh wait, it's 5 p.m.
Tea time.
Tea time, mate. He's writing down what he wants for dinner. Jeez, these GP days just fly by, huh? Vraska's contempt now for Sajad. And an extension of the hand from Guillaume Wafotapa. My giddy aren't goody. What's just happened, Simon?
I think Wafotapa conceded.
We are going to get confirmation that this has happened here, but yeah, well, we don't need it. Look at that. Guillaume Wafotapa, hats off.
That's a way to prevent a draw.
That is quite incredible. And Guillaume Wafotapa, I mean, I would like to take a second to just recognize this, something that doesn't happen very often at all at this level of the game. Wafotapa could have very easily played for the draw. He could have very easily hoped that the top of his library treated him kindly, you know, gone through the motions, hoped to force the draw between the two players, and had a very awkward conversation about how the match was going to be resolved. But instead, he clearly recognized that his opponent would take the game where they'd have a longer amount of time. A very, very sporting and very gentlemanly thing to have done, and I am very, very impressed, Simon.
Yep. Also stays out of the draw bracket. In fact, both players stay out of the draw bracket. I think that's always a good thing. You don't want to be playing against more control decks. You want to beat up on the aggro decks, on the mid-range decks that are out there. Of course, we can only guess to the intentions of Wafotapa, but I absolutely agree. Great sign to see somebody concede that close before the match wouldn't have been able to be finished.
Sure, I mean, there may be some strategic application to that as well, staying out of the draw bracket, but anyway you slice it, hats off to Wafotapa, because a very fine thing to have done, I have to say. Speaking of very fine, look at this matchup here. We've got Simon Nielsen, the defending GP champion, who, won one very recently indeed, Simon, and Duncan Tang out of Glasgow in Scotland, good mate of mine as well. He is playing, would you believe it, White-Blue Godfarer's Gift. He is playing a deck that is overstuffed with one toughness creatures.
Yeah, you know how the metagame develops in cycles.
Yeah. He's several cycles ahead.
A few steps ahead.
Yeah, exactly. He's a Sunscourge champion now for Tang. And we'll see what his next move is, as Nielsen playing a much more traditionally, known deck. In Goblin Chainwhirler. But let's see what the Scot has to say about it here. Third mountain for Nielsen. He did pilot this deck to victory very recently. At that time it was known as Black Red Vehicles, of course, but the true namesake of the deck has risen to the fore.
Simon Nielsen is having none of this battlefield placement here. Where's your graveyard, mate?
Yeah, these two really got stuck into each other, actually. Duncan Tang and Simon Nielsen both got mouths on them. I have to say that they both like to flap their gabbers, and there's a lot of trash talk going on at this table. I can actually tell you that. And we'll see how things progress here. Duncan Tang, of course, representing the proud nation of Scotland at last year's World Magic Cup. They made a very convincing Day 2 performance. And here's Nielsen now with his characteristic art style making an appearance in the feature match area as well. So now back to Tang, who is of course playing White-Blue, or WU, I guess as it's written out there like that. I guess his deck is therefore the Wu Tang clan.
Yeah, I get it.
Oh yeah. Yep, that joke ain't nothing to mess with. I'm not sure what Duncan Tang's ancestral clan is in Scotland as well. I don't know that there is the House of Tang in Scotland. But he's certainly done very well at 5-1 with a deck that we really thought was consigned to the scrap heap after Pascal Maynard made the Pro Tour finals of it months and months and months ago back at Pro Tour Ixalan. But Tang's out in force. He's ready to get it done. I can tell you that Duncan Tang has just messaged me and he's told me some interesting facts about his, given that he's on stream right now. This is a time walk match, so he is able to message me in real time. He is 32-4-5 lifetime with GPG. I don't know why he knows that. He did play it at the World Magic Cup, and he's won 3 PPTQs with it. But the most important victory for him, Simon, with this deck, has been against our good friend Harry Porter. Harry Porter lost to him at the Glasgow Game Day.
Shout out.
And what Harry said to Duncan before Duncan crushed him with it was, "Stop playing your joke deck, Duncan." So who had the last laugh here?
So, are you saying that Duncan is a self-proclaimed master of Blue Word gifts?
Yes, it looks like that. Yeah, it really does look like that.
Messaging you while we are commentating.
While we're commentating so people know just how good this guy is. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's chart of course now for Tang.
Did you know Simon Nielsen is also kind of an expert on red-black chain roller decks?
I mean, has he won a game day with it? Is he 32-4 and 5
Not a
lifetime?
GD.
Not a G. Not a GD. Yes, well, look, we can say safely that both players very experienced with their respective archetypes, Simon. Both of them have been decorated with trophies of various levels.
Let's just say Simon Nielsen would probably be in contention for Scottish captaincy.
Were he Scottish?
Were he Scottish.
Yep, but he's not. So not worth visiting there. Duncan Tang recently leapfrogged as well by Danny Anderson, one of the strongest Scottish PT performances we've seen last week at PT Dominaria. A top 16 performance from Danny Anderson, who almost certainly locks up the Scottish captaincy with that. Scottish Magic continuing to thrive. Of course, Gary Campbell winning GP Birmingham just a couple of weeks ago, and
as did Simon Nielsen.
As did Simon Nielsen. That's right, the second GP won by Nielsen there. But one of the closest and most tight-knit communities in the world. I'm very lucky to be, associated with them in a small part, of course, living in Glasgow as I do. And a slower, a slower development here on the battlefield between these two players. Ministry of Inquiry is coming down, facing off against Simon Nielsen's Hazaret the Fervent, in addition to the Stranger and the PNLR. And unfortunately, that Thopter that was hand-drawn by Nielsen has gone away.
3 Hazards in Simon's main deck. I think that's a bit uncharacteristic for at least for the classical black-red lists. Interesting.
Nielsen now attacking. Looks like the Earthshaker Kenra is going to get busy as well. In addition to this Thopter and this PNLR.
And Earthshaker Kenra is quite impressive. Even though it has 1 toughness, the fact that it does come back, all these Eternalized creatures just pack a punch. And almost all of them are being played in Constructed as well. Champion of Wits, Earthshaker Kenra. The green one is key in the Galta decks.
Yeah. Rosetta and Kenra. Here we see the Thopter being pumped up. And that means the Ministry of Inquiry is jumping under the bus there. The Scrap Heap Scrounger-shaped bus, that is. Back to Tang. He's going to need something special. This is not looking good for him as the board continues to go the way of Simon Nielsen here.
But as a white-blue gifts expert, he knows this feeling.
Oh, yeah. He knows the feeling of losing. He knows the feeling of being way behind and getting crushed. Well,
and sometimes drawing yourself out of it.
32-4-5. Let's be honest, Simon. Tang knows his way around this deck. Let's see what he can find at the top here. Got a Fumigate in hand, a nice one, were it not for that Hazaret. Charter Course in addition to that as well. And this is a telling attack. This is a telling attack, Simon. Nielsen's going to take it as well.
Yeah, I think he can't block.
Oh, he's got 3 cards. Excuse me. So Fumigate, yep. And Tang helpfully pointing out how many creatures are going to die here. So he gains a ton of life.
Counting it out for his opponent. Very nice.
Very, very kind of him indeed.
Coming back from the Pro Tour, there is a different feeling to these GP matches. Not that players aren't serious about winning, but it is a bit more lighthearted. Maybe also because the feature match area is not quite as intimidating.
I think the thing is, I don't think it matters where Simon Nielsen is playing. I think a game of Magic is always lighthearted when Simon Nielsen is
It
playing.
is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another Pianala, another Thopter coming down for the Dane as well. He's on home turf. But if you haven't met Simon Nielsen, if you haven't had the pleasure, I tell you what, this bloke, one of the most genuine and positive gentlemen you're ever going to meet. Always got a smile in his face. Always bouncing on the balls of his feet. Just happy to be here, Simon. Just happy to be wherever he is. Got a warm heart and a firm handshake. And there's not too much more you need in life, to be honest. Recently grown out his beard and fixed up his hair situation, which I have to say, previously, I don't think you mind me saying this, was less than optimal.
Interesting choice is how we call it.
An interesting choice. Yeah, that's it. He comes out of the hairdresser and people look at him and go, interesting choice. But he's certainly got it right now. And back to Nielsen. Still wearing that horrendous tie, however. I don't know how he does it. Round his neck's like a yoke.
Yoke?
Like a yoke
Ah.
on an ox.
Yeah, yoked ox. I know.
Yeah. Look at all those buttons on it, huh?
I thought you meant
like an egg.
no, like a joke, just in Swedish.
Oh, Yorker. Like a Yorker. Well, I guess the tie is a bit of a yoke, to be honest with you. Let's see what Hazard can get done now.
So that's where the blue-white control decks have settled the record. But if you're playing blue-white gifts, you usually don't have that card. Would be a good surprise here, though.
Yeah, cast out a nice one to take care of the 5/4. That'd be a real difficult thing for Tang to overcome, but he's getting it done here.
And so I'm quite conservative here with this turn. Duncan Tang doesn't have...
Matched basics. I'm going to be talking to you about that.
He doesn't have a gift. He doesn't have a refurbish. What does he have? He isn't activating a Scanta. I'm really a bit surprised. Not much is going on. He's eternalizing.
He's eternalizing the Sunscourge champion. Going to gain 4. That's a nice one. Discarding the Charter Course, and this means that he is, of course, able to activate the Azcanta Sunken Ruin should he choose to. Back to Nielsen now, who draws, finds a mountain. Got another Hazard in hand, so that's a nice one for the Dane. And Duncan Tang without great answers to the second copy of Hazard. I can't imagine he's playing too many copies of Cast Out Simon.
No, that's what I was alluding to. If you're playing a blue-white control, you need those slots for Minister of Inquiries. So, 2 Cast Outs. That's what we're looking at.
Earthshaker Kenra going to come back from the dead. And looks like Nielsen has the token. Oh, boo. I was hoping to see a Simon Nielsen original once again. Nielsen denies any familial relation to the legendary artist Therese Nielsen, but if anyone has seen Simon Nielsen's artwork in the past, the connection speaks for itself.
If you put them next to each other, it's quite apparent.
Yeah, it's very, very obvious. They're both incredibly talented artists. So Nielsen in for a whole bunch here. Duncan Tang without any choice but to take it.
11 points. Now this is the key activation of a Scanta. Can Duncan find Godfarer's Gift, anything? He's just...
Is that the whiff?
That's the whiff.
The big whiff on the search for a Scanta.
That's the full-on whiskeys?
Whiffsky.
No, whiffskies.
Whiffsky. Leave it to the professional, Simon.
It's...
I can just tell you I do have another new piece of correspondence from Duncan Tang, who has messaged us on our Glasgow Magic Facebook group, which is called, and I'm not joking, Duncan's Travelling Band of Merry Men. He's just messaged me saying, please call me the King of Good Vibes on stream.
Let's see if he can at least get one of his namesake cards onto the battlefield first.
Let's see if His Majesty can stitch this one together here, as we see King Duncan of the Good Vibes, first of his name, cast an Angel of Invention here, and Sunscourge champion coming to the party, better late than never. So Tang with a decision to make here about the Fabricate trigger. And Simon, immediately what are you thinking of doing here?
Intuitively, I think you're going for servos more often than not. In this particular case, it looks like you want blockers on the ground for sure. And Duncan just confirmed that. It's good to take your time in these kind of spots because there might be a reason to grow the Angel, but here the servers just look much stronger.
And as 2-2s as well, in addition to the Sun Scourge champion as a 5-5, holding off the entire team there for Nielsen, with the exception of those flyers. Oh no, but another Glory Bringer. Oh no, another flyer in the form of this Glory Bringer from Simon Nielsen, and this spells disaster for Tang because how does he get himself out of this one?
Good question, and maybe a bit reminiscent of the Proto Finals where Glorybringer came down, kind of crushed some dreams there. Now, the question is, do we see an attack on the ground or just in the air? I kind of expect Simon to just try to win this in the air, maybe take down the Angel on the way and get in for huge points of damage.
So, Tang on the blocks, under a lot of pressure from Simon Nielsen. And another piece of correspondence from Duncan. He said, mention that I'm single. So, ladies, and so inclined dudes, at him, at TUPFOL, TPUFOL. Single, ready to mingle, Duncan Tang, a superstar of Scottish Magic. Could be yours. Could be the prize you take home tonight.
So, when he wrote you his lifetime score with White Blue Gifts, did he include the result of this match?
I don't know, actually. I don't know, because right now it looks like that is definitely being chalked up in the column that he'd be least happy about. So Tang figures out those blocks down to 4 now, as Nielsen looks to really stamp his seal of authority on this match, or this game at least, I should say. And now, Tang activates the Azcan of the Sunken Ruin here by the look of things, digging desperately for an answer, but what is there that's going to get him out of this? He needs another Fumigate, and
Plains,
even then...
Island.
Is that the second Whiffsky in a row? Unless he's found something. Oh, strategic plan, just never lucky. Duncan Tang, always so unlucky. And the strategic planning off the top as well means that we're going to see, well, there's the Refurbish, there's the Godfarer's Gift, those cards hiding out too deep in his deck there.
No, too little too late. No Godfarer's Gift anywhere to be seen. Duncan did draw through a lot of cards. So clearly knows what he's doing with the gift stack, but it wasn't really cooperating.
No, he wasn't able to draw the perfect hand. He wasn't able to find the nuts. I guess it was Duncan Don't Nuts rather than Duncan Donuts.
That's a stretch.
Oh, I feel like that was top shelf. I feel like I just stole the cookies.
Yeah, it's good that you feel that way.
Thanks so much, Simon. I'll take it where I can get it. Tang here, in a world of pain. Can he find a way forward against Nielsen, who has just continued to apply relentless pressure here?
There's Godfarer's Gift and land.
And a refurbish on the Godfarer's Gift. Here we go. So the 7-drop brings back a Shalai, Voice of Plenty, and in comes the Angel of Invention. And Tang is going to trade it with a Thopter token here?
Maybe he wants it in the graveyard.
Yeah, of course he does. So, blocks with the token does Nielsen, and that means that the Angel of Invention can come back next turn. But
I will call him the king of whatever he wants if he manages to turn this game around.
Can the King of Good Vibes beat Simon Nielsen here in a dramatic victory? With a Hazoret in hand, of course. Oh, my goodness me. Big attacks for Simon Nielsen. And Simon, your namesake, looking to take it home for Team Rock and Roll.
Never mind.
GG, easy, says Simon Nielsen. And Duncan Tang, never lucky. And I do have good news for fans of Simon Nielsen around the world, because he did manage to take out game number 2 as well. So the King of Good Vibes goes down 0-2 against the champion of GP Birmingham, Simon. A very entertaining match, and hopefully we'll see some more of Duncan Tang and his ridiculous deck moving on further in this tournament.
It's still legal, so he can continue playing it
on
as long as he
wants. On a technical level, at least, he can continue to play it. That's right. Well, my friends, that's all we've got time for in this round, but stick around, because we'll be closing out day number 1 of GP Copenhagen.
Copenhagen with round number 8. It's coming your way after this.